Hello friends, welcome to our new session on control engineering for 7th semester mechanical engineering students. We'll start with modeling of thermal system. When the word thermal comes into our mind, we come across with the word as heat and the sources of heat and energy. These are the words which are going to come into our mind. So in the modeling of thermal system, like any other physical system, that too of a mechanical and electrical, here also we are having the systems associated with thermal. So the basic elements in thermal system are the thermal resistance and thermal capacitance. When we call about thermal resistance, it is the insulators which are going to resist the heat flow, and when we tell about the thermal capacitor, those are the fluids which are going to store the heat and or which will be a source of energy for storing and then giving away the heat. So those will be, so to obtain the equations or modeling of these equations, we come across with different laws of thermal systems. So basically in a heat transfer, we know that the mode of heat transfer will be the conduction, convection and the radiations, and all these modes of heat transfer are associated with different laws, like the conduction is related to the Fourier's law, and the convection related to the Newton's law of cooling, and the radiation are, or one of the famous is the Stefan Boltzmann law or radiation laws. Okay, so going further, here in the heat transfer system, here we are going to consider the system used for heating, that is a flow of water which is shown below. Here the water is entering into a container, and here we are going to supply the heat. This heat is going to be getting trapped, or this heat is going to be transferred to the water, and the water is going to reach some equilibrium temperature, and the water is then made to come outside this tank or outlet with a elevated temperature. Initially the inlet temperature will be near to the room temperature, then it will be heated and there will be change in temperature at the outlet. So the rate at which the heat is supplied will be the Q, so it will be electrical heat, and some amount of heat is going to be loss, will be having loss through radiation or due to this thermal insulation also. So the tank is insulated so that heat is not lost to the surrounding, or heat loss does not take place to the surrounding. So electric element is provided in the tank to heat the water, and the water which is coming here will be a cold water, and the water which is going out will be the hot water or the warm water. This type of application we see mainly in types of our boilers mainly, or in case of our geyser, water geysers, or in industry plant where we require the water to be heated. There we find this type of a system. Okay, so here let the inlet temperature be denoted as theta I, and outlet temperature be denoted by theta naught. So and the surrounding temperature is given by expression theta. So to go further, let's make some assumptions. So here let theta I is equal to inlet water temperature in a degree centigrade, theta naught outlet water temperature in degree centigrade, theta that is ambient temperature or surrounding temperature, and a small q is the rate of flow from heating element in joules per second. Qi is a small deviation of heat flow into the water, and Qt is the small deviation of heat flow rate from the tank insulation. C is the thermal capacity given in joule per degree centigrade. R is the resistance of the thermal system. Here, as I have mentioned, we are going to use the laws of heat transfer. So the rate of heat flow of water in the tank is given as Qi is equal to C into d theta divided by dt, where the Qi is the small deviation in heat flow. So how we got this one is, we get it from our very familiar equation. If we remember, that is Q is equal to M C P into delta T. So here Q is overall heat transfer, that is, but here we are going to talk it in terms of rate of heat transfer. So it is small q, MCP, mass flow rate of water, and specific heat of water. This combined is going to be called as the capacity of the water. If instead of water, if you are using oil, then the specific heat of the oil will be different. So if in place of oil any other liquid will be there, that multiplicity. So it will depends on the what is the capacity of the heat to be stored into that one. So this is a constant. So Q is rate of heat flow for the water is directly proportional to change in temperature with respect to time dt. So it is removing that proportionality, we get this constant, that is C. Then similarly, the rate of heat flow from the water to the surrounding atmosphere through the insulator, that is given by Qt is equal to theta naught minus theta divided by R. To make ourselves familiar, we can relate this one as I is equal to V1 minus V2 divided by R. So V or voltage can be related to elevation temperature. So we know that voltage drop will be from a higher potential to lower potential. Similarly, the temperature is going to drop from a higher temperature to lower temperature. The outlet temperature will be higher and the surrounding temperature will be quite lesser. So here we get this type of equation. I is equal to, I is the flow of current, the rate at which current flows. Similarly, here Qt is the rate of the heat flow. So it's quite anonymous with this one. So from there Qt is equal to theta naught minus theta divided by R. There here in electrical system, R is the resistance of the material, here R is the resistance of the insulator. So similarly, if we are going to increase the thickness of the insulations, so it will be thickness of the insulation. If you are increasing, what will happen? There will be the temperature will be from theta naught, if I tell. So this is theta, so there will be a drop in temperature here, and this will be the resistance. So if we are going to have more thickness then or length, then the resistance will be high, similar to our resistance of the wire. So this is what we see it in case of analogous, how we can bring for analogous, which we can bring for the electrical system with the thermal system. Next, as per the heat transfer principle, the amount of heat whatever we are supplying will be equal to amount of heat which is flowing out from the tank. So flowing out from the tank is this one Qi, and flowing out of the to the surrounding is Qt, that is from the through the insulation. Q is the heat supplied. So this heat supplied, we are supplying it from the electrical system. So this Q is equal to, also we can, this Q is equal to V into I, voltage into current. That is also we are going to get. So from there we are going to supply. So one parameter which is controlling here is we are controlling the current parameters or the voltage parameters, and the other side what we are controlling the temperature parameters. So like this, one input is current here, another side the input or the output is the temperature. So substituting equation 1 and 2 in equation 3, we get Q will be remaining Q itself only. Qi is substituted by C into d theta divided by dt plus Qt is equal to theta naught minus theta divided by R. So we can rewrite this one as C into d theta naught by dt plus theta naught by R minus theta by R. This theta by R we are going to neglect. This theta by R we are going to neglect, and we are going to retain only this part, that is Q is equal to C into d theta naught divided by dt. The reason for neglecting theta by R from the equation 4 is because the variation of water theta naught is over and above the ambient temperature, that is theta. So as the variation of this temperature is high, so when compared to the temperature of variation with respect to the ambient temperature is less, so we are going to neglect that. Hence we get our equation Q is equal to mc d theta naught by dt plus theta naught by R. Then taking a Laplace transform of the above equation, Q is going to be, these are with respect to time variable t, so these are already with respect to time variable t, hence what we get, Q is equal to Q of S. C is a constant C, d theta naught by dt with respect to t, so it is S into theta naught of S, and R is a constant, so it will be 1 by R, and theta naught of t will be equal to theta naught of S. Output, as I have told you, here output is from this one, output is a temperature. So what we are doing, we are taking these theta naught of S as a common and rewriting it, output divided by, output is here theta naught of S, and the input is the heat supplied, that is Q of S. So input is Q of S. So what we get R divided by S into RC plus 1, where RC can be called as the time constant, or it can be written as R is equal to, or it can be written as equal to R divided by S into tau plus 1. So in some books this is written as S into tau plus 1. Sorry. This is written as S tau plus 1. So where tau is the time constant. So here we can see, to have the ratio of theta out by theta naught divided by Qs, the elements which has to be changed is the resistance value or the capacitor value. So this will be here resistance, this will be helping in modeling the system. So here we can see, to model this system, what elements which we can correlate is the resistance and the capacitance. This will be helping us into modeling this system. Next, we are going to study the modeling of a hydraulic system. Like what we have studied for a modeling of a thermal system, here we are going to study how to model a hydraulic system. So the principles of principle used in hydraulic system is, or the governing laws for hydraulic system will be the Pascal's law, where pressure is equal to force by area, if to remember it as simple as possible. So for modeling of a hydraulic system, the basic elements in a hydraulic systems are, which we are going to use, or which will be helping us in modeling, are the hydraulic resistance and hydraulic capacitance. So as we have seen this one before, also in case of our mechanical system also, and in case of our thermal system also, there are resistive elements and there is a capacitive elements. So here the resistive element, what will be the fluid resistance, or the resistance or the friction resistance, that will be the resistive element, and the hydraulic capacitance will be the oil, which is, or the fluid which will be storing the energy. Okay, to model this hydraulic system, what we are supposed to do is, we have to write an equation of motion and transfer function related to that one. Here typically we are going to show a structure of a hydraulic actuator. In this type of actuator, what we are having, what we have been provided here is a piston cylinder. This is the piston with the cylinder. Okay, this is the main hydraulic cylinder, and the outlet of the cylinder is connected to a ramp, and the ramp is connected to the load. Here we are having one valve, that is the control valve or a valve cylinder. For that we are going to supply the high pressure source of fluid, that is oil, and we are having a spool here. So there is one inlet and two outlet. So here from there it is going to reverse back or come back. So the oil is going through this port. This is the inlet port and this is the output port. So it is a two-way type of a hydraulic system. So it can enter from here and it can enter from here. So the rate at which this piston is going to move forward and backward depends on the change in pressure difference which is going to be created. The pressure difference created between these two is because of the change in area. Here we are having a large area, cross-sectional area. Here we are having comparative to this one lesser area, because it is going to, this area is confined, or this area has been reduced because of the cylinder rod, or because of this piston rod. So this will be change in pressure. Because of this change in pressure, there will be actuation which is going to occur in the cylinder. Okay, so here the fluid supply will be from the high pressure enters here. The piston is going to move forward, and the pressurized fluid is going to put the piston in the forward position. The compressed fluid here will be rushing back to the sump. So as it is rushing back to the sump, there will be resistance offered from the, so if we are going to confine this one, so what will happen, there will be slowness, or rate at which this is going to come out will be slowing the system, or it will be fastering, making the system fast. So going ahead, here the rate of flow of oil into the piston is proportional to the rate of movement of the piston. So here rate of flow of oil, it means Q, or the whatever discharge of oil will be taking into the piston is proportional to the movement of the piston. Movement of the piston here means the displacement. So the Q flow which is happening here into this one will be the displacement which is going to happen. The Q flow here depends on the input which we are going to give for this valve. So the valve is going to get the input. So this will be the input. This input we are going to get input displacement, we get it from our electrical solenoid valves. From the solenoid we get this displacement. When this displacement is occurring, the spool is going to move, and based on that fluid is going to enter into the system. So here we are having that is Q is equal to A into dy by dt. So Q is directly proportional to, as it is telling proportional, so it is directly proportional to dy by dt. Here the proportional constant will be area of the piston. Area means this cross sectional area of the piston, this area of the piston. This is what we are talking about. Then if P is the differential pressure across the piston, then force on the piston is A into P. So pressure is equal to, from where we got this one, pressure is equal to force divided by area from the Pascal's law. Force divided by area. So applied pressure, applied force will be equal to pressure into area. So we will be getting AP. This moves the load M against the friction B. So this is going to move the mass of this one against the friction B. So against, if there is a friction, so that against that friction it is going to move. Hence here we can write it, equate it, the equation as, here this is the force part, the applied force, that is the fluid pressure, fluid force we call it as F. So F is equal to pressure into area, that is equal to the mass, that is M, and the frictional resistance which is going to occur. So M into d square y divided by dt square plus B into dy by dt. Here y is the displacement, linear displacement. So this is going to be the equation. So further, when we go for the small values of displacement x, so as I have told you, there is a small displacement x which is going to be the input. So pressure in the differential pressure on the piston, and Q is the oil flow rate. So pressure will be both sides, there will be a differential pressure which is created on the piston, and Q will be the oil flow rate. It can be given as K2P equal to K1X minus Q. Then here we are going to replace the P into P from the previous equation, that will be related as K2 M by A d square by dt square plus B by A dy by dt equal to K1 into X minus, we add from the equation 1, that is Q, so it is minus A into dy by dt. Means we are bringing this equation in relationship with our output displacement Y form. So taking the Laplace transform for the above equation, we get K2. Here taking Laplace transform of this one, M by A, it will be same. So it will be, for this one it will be S square Y of S. Then here it will be K2 into B divided by A, that is constant, as K2 is been taken inside. So it will be limited to us to write S into Y of S equal to K1 X1 of S minus A into Y of S into S. So this is the Laplace transform for the above equation. Next, we need to write it with respect to the output displacement and to the input displacement. As I have told you, the input will be the X, which is via the spool movement. So it is written as, here can we get the equation Y of S divided by X of S equal to K1A divided by S square K2M plus K2B of S BS plus A2 square into S. This is the transfer function for the given hydraulic system. Next, we are going to do the modeling of a pneumatic system. As we had done the modeling of a hydraulic system, in a pneumatic system, so pneumatic means air. So air is a compressible fluid. So we are going to apply the same principle as what we had applies it for the hydraulic, that is the Pascal's law. The basic elements in a pneumatic systems are here the pneumatic resistor and the pneumatic capacitance. So we'll go further. Let's take one valve which is used for controlling any of the actuator. So here we can see this is a plunger valve, so which is actuating because of the input pressure, and this plunger valve is going to operate any of the end effectors or the actuators with the displacement whatever it is going to get on the plunger side, that is Y. So input here will be the air pressure, and the output here will be as usual the displacement. So this shows a typical pneumatic actuators. Mainly these type of actuators we mainly find in our nut and bolt of our pneumatic service torques, or pneumatic motors, or pneumatic drills, where we are going to see this type of actuators. Mainly in pneumatic drilling, which concrete breakers, there we see this type of actuation, where air is going to be coming, pressurizing, and the spring is going to be contracted, and because of the pressure of the air, so the diaphragm moves downward and it is going to drill, and when the air is released to the atmosphere, the spring is going to retract and bring back to its position. So here we will be having the air pressure, and because of the air pressure it converts into the force which is going to make the plunger to act on the downward side. So the pneumatic acting valve is used to obtain linear displacement of the plunger with the pressurized air at the input. Air at a pressure P is injected to the inlet, and pressure air pushes the diaphragm and the plunger downward. The plunger has a mass m. The plunger is constituent with mass m, and friction B. The friction is the air itself only as a friction or a resistance which is it is going to create for that one, and a spring which we are going to be using for action, so the spring constant. So the friction part is the damping part, which is the air itself only, which is the damper. So it is going to cushion also and resist also, or take the shocks or load also. So it is B, and the mass is the plunger, and the spring is the retracting spring. So let A be the area of the diaphragm, then this will be the area on which we are going to act on the pressure on this one. A be the area of the diaphragm, then transfer function can be obtained as below. The force exerted on the pressure plunger is A into P. As we know, pressure is equal to force by area, so we know force is equal to A into P. This force is opposed by the mass, friction, and the spring. So whenever we are applying a force on this part, what will happen? It is going to be retracted by the reversing force. To show you, so the force of the mass of this one will be backward, okay, the retracting force will be backward, and the spring force also will be to, when it gets pressurized, it will be getting compressed, it will be also backward, the mass will be backward, and compressed air also, the damping also, diaphragm also acts as a spring, that also it will be backward, and the friction part, as I've told you, the friction part, air also will be getting compressed, it will be trying to come out, release out, that also will be resistance, that also will be acting as a friction. So applied force A into P, which is from the input sides. Output we are having the retractive force will be mass into d square y by dt square, then the damper B into dy by dt, and the spring rate at which it is getting retracting back k into y. So this is equation, this is the governing equation for this type of a system. Next, applying the Laplace transform for the above equation, we get A into P of s equal to ms square y of s plus bs into y of s plus k into y of s. We require the output to input. Here the output is y of s, input is p of s. So we write it y of s divided by p of s. So here we are having the equation as a divided by ms square plus bs plus k. So this is a transfer function for a typical pneumatic actuator. So in the examination, many a times they may be asking write the transfer function taking example for a pneumatic actuation system. You can take this one, or they may be telling write a transfer function for a typical hydraulic actuator systems. So you can take the earlier problem, and sometimes they will be asking to write a transfer function for a typical heat element or a heat transfer element. So there also you can take that example. Sometimes they may be asking to write a transfer function for a typical heat transfer or a heating element. So you can take the first type of a heat element type of a example. To summarize what all we have covered till now, we have covered about modeling of a physical systems, that is mathematically modeling of a mechanical, electrical, thermal, hydraulic and pneumatic systems. So in mechanical we have studied about the elements like mass, damper and spring, and electrical we have studied the elements like resistor, inductor and the capacitance. In thermal we have studied about thermal resistance and thermal capacitance. In hydraulic and pneumatic we have studied about their respective hydraulic resistance and hydraulic capacitance, and pneumatic resistance and pneumatic capacitance. So here next we need to study about the analogous systems, that is direct and inverse analogous for mechanical and thermal and fluid system. Thank you.